challenges and opportunities of online learning in pharmacy education. But before we begin, I would like to greet our honorable guests. First, to our honorable speaker and the Dean of Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia, Professor Dr. Apoteker Aryanuar, Magister Science. To our honorable speaker, Keith Sewell, Senior Project Manager Learning Technologies from Monash University, Australia. Vice Dean for Academic Research and Student Affairs, Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Apoteker Fadlina Chani, Magister Science. And Vice Dean for Resources, Venture and General Administrations, Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Sutrio, Magister Science, Apoteker. To all managers, heads of study program, professors, and lecturers of Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia, also to all students and participants of this webinar. As we know that it has been 2 years since the first cases of COVID-19 was announced. So the lecturers have been trying to use different teaching methods, and also for the students have been trying to use different learning methods to catch up everything during this pandemic situation. So this webinar is held to learn about the lesson learned from Indonesia, also from the Australia, especially in online learning in pharmaceutical education. And before I start this webinar, please allow me to read the agenda. So the first is the opening remark, which will be delivered by Dr. Fadlina Chani as the Vice Dean of Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia. And then the first topic of this webinar is the lesson learned of online learning in Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia, which will be delivered by Professor Dr. Apoteker Aryanuar, Magister Science. And the second topic is MyDispense as Pharmacy Online Learning Tools, lesson learned from Monash University, which will be delivered by Keith Sewell, the Senior Project Manager Learning Technologies, Monash University, Australia. And the session will be continued with the discussion. So don't forget, to all participants who wants to ask the speakers, you may write down the question in the chat box, or you may raise hand after the sessions of the speakers. And then the last is the closing. So let's move to the first agenda, is the opening remark by the Vice Dean of Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia, Dr. Apoteker Fadlina Chani, Magister Science. To Dr. Fadlina, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deli Ramadan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to our speakers. Here, Joyce, my colleague, also, and all participants here. Today, we have a very nice and excited webinar about challenges and opportunities of online learning in pharmacy education. I would like to express my special thanks to our honorable speakers here, Professor Dr. as our dean also, and Mr. Keith Sewell, Senior Project Manager Learning Technologies from Monash University, Australia. Let's listen together how the online learning system is there in several places maybe, and how it is implemented, how to develop the learning system in our field, special pharmacy, and how do we solve problems if we meet during learning process. I hope we can take lesson learned from our speakers' experience in this field. Once again, thank you to both of our speakers, and for all participants, have a nice time in the session. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for the speech, Dr. Fadlina Chani. And then we will move to the next agenda. But before that, let's take a picture to document. Yeah, the committee, could you please help us? Yeah, Ms. Chitra, could you please help us? Thank you.
Okay, dear all participants, please open your camera so we can take your photo. Okay, in the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, stay still, smile. Okay, the next 1, 2, 3, smile. And 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, it's already done. Thank you, Deli.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Kartika Chitra. So I would like to extend our gratitude to our sponsors. First is PT Guardian Pharmatama, and the second one is PharmaClick Group, who have supported this webinar. So there is a video profile from PT Guardian Pharmatama as our event sponsor partner. So let's watch the video first.
PT Guardian Pharmatama didirikan pada tahun 1993. Perusahaan obat yang tergolong muda yang memiliki tim kerja profesional dengan laju perkembangan yang menakjubkan, yaitu dengan pertumbuhan sales drastis di atas angka 15% per tahun. Dengan moto "Quality is our concern", PT Guardian Pharmatama berkomitmen terhadap mutu dan kualitas produk yang diproduksi. Dengan memiliki fasilitas produksi yang telah memenuhi standar CPOB dan CPOTB, yaitu CPOB versi 2018 dan CPOTB versi 2011, serta ditunjang dengan sertifikasi ISO 9001 dari Lloyds, sebuah badan sertifikasi tertua di dunia. Dengan proses penyeleksian bahan baku yang berjenjang, serta melalui analisa yang mendalam, hanya bahan baku yang berkualitas konsisten dari supplier terpilih yang dipakai di dalam setiap produk PT Guardian Pharmatama. PT Guardian Pharmatama telah memiliki lebih dari 121 produk atau 181 items yang sudah dipasarkan dan lebih kurang 20 produk baru yang akan dipasarkan dalam waktu dekat. PT Guardian Pharmatama berkomitmen untuk terus-menerus mendukung kesehatan yang berkualitas bagi semua masyarakat Indonesia, khususnya dan masyarakat dunia pada umumnya.
Okay, thank you for the video and thanks for the support for this webinar. Yeah, I think I should also let you know that the participants who fully attend this webinar and pass the post-test will get the certificate with EAI's credit. So don't miss everything from this webinar. And yeah, we will move to the first talk, which will be presented by Professor Dr. Apoteker Aryanuar Magister Science. And the title of the presentation is Lesson Learned of Online Learning in Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia. Before we call the first speaker, yeah, we will read the CV first. So could you please share the CV? So Professor Dr. Aryanuar Magister Science Apoteker obtained his PhD program at Nara Institute of Science and Technology, Japan. Currently, he is working as a lecturer and become a Dean of Faculty of Pharmacy, Universitas Indonesia. He has more than 150 publications in national and international journals, including 82 articles, 13 conference papers, and 5 reviews in Scopus, 58 publications in Web of Science, and 10 proceedings, 1 book chapter, and 2 books. Yeah. Without further ado, please welcome our first honorable speaker, Professor Dr. Apotheker Arya Nuar. So, Prof. Ari, the screen and time are yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy, for this kind of introduction. So, good morning, everyone in this webinar meeting, especially Kate Sewell from Monash University, Ibu Ani as our sport, and college from university, and also the student. So let me share out my slide. So that's this. Okay. Could you see my screen now?
Yes, it's in well.
Yeah, okay. So the theme of our presentation is according to the theme is challenge and opportunity of online learning in pharmacy education. So yeah, we are a little bit share about a lesson learned from online learning from Faculty of Pharmacy. But in the first, I would like to present about the global or general, more general. Yeah. So this is my outline from this presentation about challenge, opportunity, and also technical support. What we have to prepare for this online learning. So in the change of work, yeah, the world is changing is so fast, and organization all over the world are facing the environment of unprecedented urgency, high stakes, and also uncertainty. Yeah, and also this implication for any organization are profound. To succeed, we have to change more and faster than even before. So, and also the ability of the people in an organization or maybe in a university to change quickly, efficiently, and uh, can provide competitive advantage is difficult for competitor to replicate. So FUCA is that we talk about a lot of few years ago. Now it's happening today, and also in 2 years before 2 years ago, yeah, since COVID-19. Okay. Now the FUCA challenge for 2022 is to thrive. We need to accept that the new normal will continue to include that information overload with no clear definition of reliable and unreliable information, the interconnected of the system, including business, communities, and personal welfare, the dissolving of traditional organization boundary, roles, modes of communication, and most important, leadership process and model, changing value and expectation of organization, especially regarding diversity, equity, and also inclusion. So now we are in a disruption era. So the disruption come from digital disruption, also come from millennial disruption, and also we experience from a pandemic disruption. In digital disruption, uh, there is it is undeniable, yeah, that the development of the internet and digital world has played a major role in business world. The business that to use offline strategy now turn to the online world because of the many advantage it's offer of digital technology. For example, so when we doing marketing, and also in university, how we learn, how we give learning material. So disrupted by uh, in this era. Millennial disruptions, the second disruption arise because shift of customer, millennial to the millennial, which marked by change of customer behavior and also preferences. For example, if the people used to choose to go mall or restaurant to eat, now the millennial choose to order food via apps. Yeah. Or in the past, when the people had to come to the store to buy something, now the millennial prefer to buy anything via internet. And also in this era, the change of behavior has impacted the business, and also in how to make the learning in university. And in pandemic disruption, almost the business have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but both large and small businesses, including in education sector. The world of education, school and university must immediately change the way they learn to go online. So there's many strategy in modern learning system. Modern learning strategy from dialogic response, abstraction and creativity, play, community interaction, media literacy, and self-directed learning. So there is many strategy should adapt to the in learning. So the opportunity in offer in this era. So there is some model of blended learning. So face-to-face driver, flex, rotation, online lab, online driver, self-blend, and other types. So in face-to-face drivers, so in blended learning, the teacher drive instruction with a technology introduced on case-by-case basis. So it's also known as predominantly based on physical classroom. Yeah, instruction is done as normal by teacher or lecturer with a technology introduced based on the progress of each student. The model allow to each student to work at their own pace, able to learn on element of online learning. If they are taking longer than the rest of the class to a master of a subject. Some student may never interact with online learning, but under the face-to-face driver model, they can proceed at the rapid pace without being held back by other students. So this model help the teacher use their most precious commodity or asset more wisely, times. Student can focus on the area of learning they are currently at, rather than pushing the whole class through subject material at the same pace, regardless its individual levels of mastery. It is perfect for differentiation. Another model is flex. Yeah, the majority of curriculum is delivered via online instruction with the teacher on hand for face-to-face facilitation, consultation, and also for support. This model is good for student need a highly flexible individual tailored instruction and maybe consider at risk. Another model of blended learning is rotation. Yeah, students rotate to the schedule rotation, often including face-to-face instruction from teacher, practical activity, and independent online study. So this rotation is good for easiest and more recognizable way to introduce blended learning. So pretty much every teacher will familiar with the rotation model of blended learning. And the principle of this model have been around for years. A series of stations are set up, which take a different topic area or approach learning from different angle. And students then work their way around the station, allow everyone some exposure to each area, a carousel activity. The rotation model become a blended learning experience when at least one of the station makes use of technology. Traditional station might include teacher-led instruction, group activity or experiments, and technology-based station might include online instruction, interactive game or quizzes, or information video. Given how the majority of teachers are comfortable with this model, it's one of the easiest to set up in any classroom environment. It also helps to lower the student to teacher ratio. However, there are some challenges. Extra station takes up more valuable teacher preparation time, and you need to have more than one teacher who is confident with the material to deliver at a station. Another method of blended learning is online lab. The student attend a physical school or physical class where the entire curriculum is delivered via digital platform, but in a consistent physical location. In the place of teacher are supervising para-professionals, yeah, like or a technician. In online lab model, education is delivered entirely online, but done so in physical classroom. Students still have the physical classroom environment, but it is transformed into technological-based one. There are no qualified teacher, instead para-professional who supervise and help out when they can. This method is known to be used by schools across the world, have a special tight budgetary constraint. It can also help any student that need to move at different pace to their classmates. As all courses are delivered online, students are able to move through the curriculum at their own pace, with no one left behind or stuck waiting to progress. Another blended learning is online driver. Students work through the curriculum from remote location with all their instruction complete via online platform. Students have access to course teacher for check-in. So given the rise of modern technology like video conferencing and online learning platform, the online driver model may well be how school or university operate in the future. In this kind of blended learning, the traditional face-to-face physical classroom instruction is done in favor of online instruction. Students work remotely to complete all their work with teacher available for online messaging to ask question or clear up difficulties. You are uniquely, you are unlikely to see this model in younger primary education, as children require more face-to-face instruction and benefit from all the social aspect of attending a school. The online driver is more suited to mature students who require the flexibility to not have to attend a physical location at all. This online driver is good for adapting to the modern world for flexible remote learning online. So another model, the last is self-blend learning. The student undertake traditional classes before enrolling in online coursework to support their studies. The self-blend model won't apply to many younger student or primary school, but in university is applicable, but it become more recognizable as a student move into higher education. In self-blended learning, student participation in traditional instruction is in a physical classroom in the same way we are all accustomed. Yeah, the student will supplement their learning online with additional course or online instruction. This is done at the discretion of individual student, which is why it's more likely to be done by older, independent, and motivated student. The way self-blend work lead to obvious drawbacks. If students are not motivated or willing to put the time into extra study outside of the classroom, they won't get the benefit of blended learning. So this self-blended learning is good for older, independent, and motivated students who want to expand their knowledge and also skill. Other type of blended learning is a flipped classroom, and it's a virtual outside in and labs. In the flipped classroom, students are introduced a topic or subject online at home before in-class instruction, expand on the area in the class or the school or university, and enrich virtual. The work is completed predominantly online, although the student will also attend some face-to-face session with the school on an irregular basis. The outside in, the school is considered to the final part of learning experience. Before then, the student access their education online. In labs, much like the rotation model, however, this online station make use dedicated computer labs. So this is some aspect of blended learning, yeah, some model of blended learning. And in the MOOCs, yeah, massive open online course that are free online available in for everyone to enroll. MOOC provide uh, an affordable and also flexible way to learn a new skill, advance a career, deliver quality educational experience at scale. So in this slide, I only put three major MOOC, yeah, like EDX, Coursera, and Udemy. So millions of people around the world use MOOCs to learn a variety of reasons, including career development, changing a career, college preparation, supplemental learning, lifelong learning, corporate e-learning and training, and more. So the MOOCs have dramatically changed the way the world learns. So this is an example of some course in EDX. They provide many course related to our field and pharmacy. For example, this is prescription and drug misuse and addiction, antimicrobial stewardship, opioid crisis in America, prescription and drug regulation, cause and access, managing addiction, drug discovery and medicinal chemistry, introduction to pharmacology, and medical cannabis. Yeah. So typically in MOOC, they provide many popular course and also a basic course. Yeah. Another example in Coursera, this is many course in drug development, product management, pharmaceutical, medical, device innovation, chemical and health, industrial biotechnology, healthcare law, and also drug discovery. So, yeah, here's another course in herbal medicine, introduction in healthcare, drug commercialization, fundamental of machine learning and for healthcare, medical technology, and evaluation. And also in Udemy, there is some course, but the price is also, sorry, this is localized in Indonesia. Some course is localized in currency for some MOOC like EDX, Coursera, and Udemy give a trial version for or without a certificate. So if we want to get certificate, typically you have to pay some expense for take the course. Yeah. This is a global provider, yeah, for massive open online course. Sometime in our university, we have also developed learning material in local, yeah, using learning management system. So our learning is straight to our curriculum, but for this learning material could also support to match. If it is matched to our curriculum, we can adapt this material for now. So the opportunity, another opportunity is gamification. Yeah, gamification can be defined as the process of adding games or games element into something in order to encourage participation. So also the notion of learning subject such as physiology or pharmacokinetic by playing games. It actually been proven to help develop the skill of healthcare professional and to improve their overall confidence. Traditional lecture focus on delivering particular topics to the student with the goal of having student that being able to apply information in clinical setting. Then the application of the material taught during school include the much more than just learning material. It include being able to use decision making and critical thinking, and being able to communicate properly with both with patient and other healthcare professional. So by using gamification, we can also setting the learning material by giving like a reward and also role play. Yeah. So gamification is also important part. Is going to applying the learning material in maybe in metaphors. Yeah. Another opportunity is chatbot. Yeah, chatbot that we use today in messaging system like WhatsApp, Telegram. It can be also used for improve in learning. So this is a sample of chatbot. So the interaction with this chatbot using the previous learn by the machine or previous answer and equipped with artificial intelligence. So this is a example of chatbot that like a pharma bot. It's a WhatsApp chatbot connect to the health consumer with a pharmacist in pharmaceutical services, drug needs, medical equipment or medical consumable, healthy food and other. So health chatbot serve a viable solution large scale to this large scale problem. Is not only efficient in terms of handling a large number of customers, but also increase patient engagement and increasing loyalty to the pharmacy. This chatbot technique is also interesting to apply in learning process by setting the necessary rules for a question given. The artificial intelligence technique will strengthen chatbot in providing accurate answer. Now we are in the era of metaverse. So there is how we interact with another universe. Yeah, metaverse is in digital era with augmented reality or interacting the computer or another universe using a Google, Google Glass, so we can see or interact with another situation that we set up, like a laboratory or another situation of job. Yeah, so we can also use this technology to go to the pharma first. Yeah, so this example in the Swedish pharmacy chains, they use a metaverse chain wire. For this, in this example, so MetaBlocks entered into collaboration with one of the largest pharmacy in Sweden. The launch took place in North Europe, leading a strategic event on digitalization. In this collaboration with MetaBlocks, the pharmacy chain want to explore the possibility for the future e-commerce in a virtual world. Metaverse pharmacy is the latest innovation for this company, But using this situation, the learning situation or the learning condition, become more attractive to the student. They can also explore the many possibility of new force as maybe like a duplicate of a real world, so it can simulate the condition interacting with other people, or interacting with a case. So it can be developed as a learning strategy, maybe not replacing but complementing of lab. It can be used as a virtual lab, virtual laboratory. So in the virtual laboratory, you can see any setting of laboratory before student learn or enter the real laboratory. They can explore many things, explore many rules on the laboratory, and they can learn anything. So in Indonesia, we are exposed to Campus Merdeka. The student can build their own career, or build your own career by BYOC. So it's also opportunity for us. For example, this is a career map of some framework, the framework of biopharmaceutical manufacturing. The graduate can also enter the industry from which step, from the lower step. So to move forward to vertical movement in career map, they need some study or some experience. So this is an opportunity for us to develop some learning material that need from the graduate, maybe in this industry, from one path to another path. And also in the curriculum, also we can also using this career map, yeah, with the student, yeah, want to have a different needs that not existing in curriculum, yeah. So for all the established learning material on e-learning that supporting for e-learning, many support have to prepare, yeah. The basic infrastructure is a studio for e-learning. There is to accumulate learning material from the teacher, yeah. It's also we have a team, and also the learning infrastructure from the file repository, e-learning platform, maybe in learning management system, yeah, and also distant communication tools. We use distant communication tools now using MS Team or Zoom, e-learning platform using Moodle, learning management system. We set AMAS, yeah, and also file repository for learning material. Also in a same platform. So for developing infrastructure, so with good team, yeah, we have to have a 3D modeling, yeah, and concept mapping, and also project management tool and messaging tools. So this is a good support for preparing any learning material. So we should have this team to develop this learning material. And then the content development or content developer is also important for e-learning, because only we can build our content by ourselves or outsourcing with content development. But with both strategy built with our capacity, maybe it will take a long time, yeah, and need experience, yeah. But if we don't have much time, but we have maybe if we have money or funding, can outsource a content with the content development. But this is a team we need for e-learning, but the pedagogical aspects also important. In traditional learning or facilitated learning, professor, tutor, and student interact in lecture, presentation, and textbook. But in collaborative learning with social and critical learning, professor, tutor, or student interact in case study, problem-based learning, discussion forum, and teamwork. And another, an individual learning, the student can work with a case study, self-instructional material, and question and answer. So in the pedagogy in general and online learning in particular, we talk about stage in learning process and hierarchy of learning and understanding. We know that Bloom's taxonomy is a classic example, such as a hierarchy of knowledge. Bloom taxonomy of knowledge level has in turn led to a whole system question. How we make a system question or making a quiz or many evaluation to test the level of each student has managed to attain. Bloom taxonomy mainly describe content and knowledge. So for learning to be successful and happy, participants need to support it through a structured development process. The five-stage model provides a framework of scaffold for structured and paced program of activity. These five model offer essential support and development to participants at each stage, yeah, as they build up expertise in learning online. So in the first, yeah, you can see this is a amount of interactivity from the first stage to higher stage is more increasing, yeah, amount of interactivity. So the blue is moderating, and the pink is how the technical support have a role in this activity on this stage. Yeah, setting up a system and accessing, welcoming, encouraging. So it give access and motivation to the student, and also this sending and receiving message and making a familiarized and providing a bridge between cultural, social, and learning environment. This is online socialization. In the stage 3, there is information exchange from using searching or personalizing software. The tutoring is important here and supporting use of the learning material. So learning material become very important in this stage. Yeah. And stage 4 is conferencing. So they can make a construction of their knowledge using the facilitating process. So they can interact it with other students in conferencing. And also in state of development, is provide link and outside close conference. This supporting responding and also responding. So by this stage, yeah, we can ensure every stage step by step increasing the knowledge of the student. And learning in faculty pharmacy. So we have tried many setup, yeah, like asynchronous and asynchronous. Yeah, in synchronous we use Zoom or MS Team. Many teacher or lecturer that don't have any learning material already in digital material, they can use or enjoy using Zoom or MS Team. But if in our case, in these 2 years, so some teacher that they have material in LMS, yeah, learning management system in Moodle or MAS we call. So with asynchronous system, the teacher can use this model during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, they don't have some difficulty to move forward to this asynchronous because they have some asset of digital learning material in asynchronous model. Yeah, and MOOC like in I mentioned before from EDX or Coursera or Udemy, there's many material provided in this platform. Yeah, we can also experience use also this some material to complement our learning material, and also in our university give our funding give funding for developing our MOOCs, yeah, to make or to accumulate some asset, yeah, for asynchronous method for pre-recorded teaching, and also making some question, yeah, and evaluation in for asynchronous model in LMS. So yeah, so what we learn from this, yeah, we have to be prepared and quickly move forward. Yeah, we don't want to fail behind. So the experience in 2 years make us struggle with the developing of learning management system with some pre-recorded material, making some evaluation question, yeah, without leaving the pedagogic aspect, yeah. So we hope in the future our work with the laboratory, so the laboratory work, we think that cannot be replaced by online system, yeah, because there is many soft skills or another skill that cannot be replaced by watching a video or interacting in video. But the opportunity with metaverse or pharmaverse, yeah, the digital laboratory, I think, become one of the solution for us if they can be developed from our curriculum. Maybe in the next session from Kate, yeah, will answer our question, our hope about what we need in the future for pharmacy education in digital era. Thank you very much for me. So hope I return to the moderator, Delhi. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for the brilliant presentation to Prof. Ari. Yeah, as we know that learning during the pandemic situation is difficult, both for the lecturers and also for the students themselves. And yeah, we move to the next talk, which will be presented by Kate Sewell, Senior Project Manager, Learning Technologies, Monash University, Australia. And the title is MyDispenses as Pharmacy Online Learning Tools, Lesson Learned from Monash University. So as an introduction, MyDispense is an online pharmacy simulation which have been developed by the Monash University that allows students to develop and practice their dispensing skills. It provides a safe environment in which they may make mistakes without experiencing the serious consequences of practicing in the real world. So before we welcome for the next speaker, let's read the CV first. Caswell obtained his Master on Learning Technology at University of Sunderland, England. Currently, he is working as a Senior Learning Technologies Project Manager, Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, Monash University. He has also many publications, such as a simulated learning environment for teaching medicine dispensing skills in American Journal of Pharmaceutical Education. So please welcome our honorable speaker, Kate Sewell. The time and screen are yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Deli. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, but yeah, I can hear it clearly, but sometimes it disappears.
Yeah, I noticed that earlier. I'll try and speak loudly enough so that we don't have any issues with sound. I just realized also I need to change my profile picture. That the one that you have is I look quite different to that now. my hair's a lot grayer. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and let's take it from there. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so you don't have to look at me. Could you let me know are you seeing that PowerPoint okay now?
Yes, it is seen well.
Okay. So what I want to do today is talk to you about our pharmacy dispensing simulation system that we built a few years ago called MyDispense. I'll describe what MyDispense is, and I will outline some of the principles that we maintain in order to ensure that as we develop MyDispense, we don't lose track of where we're going with it. It is not a very highly technical or in any way sophisticated simulation. We've tried to keep it as simple as possible, mostly because we wanted to make it as accessible as possible, so it has the greatest utility across the world, particularly in places where internet access may not be as sophisticated or as easy as in some of the more developed areas of the world. So that's me. I'm the Learning Technologies Project Manager at the Faculty of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences at Monash University. Now, what I'm going to cover is the background of MyDispense, where MyDispense came from, why we decided to develop this simulation. And then I'll describe MyDispense and some of its features. I'll go on to cover how the COVID-19 pandemic affected how we operate within the MyDispense team and how it affected some of our working and changed the balance of work to some extent. And then a little look at what the directions that we're going in, particularly with MyDispense, but also more broadly with online learning in pharmacy at Monash. So the background of MyDispense. So MyDispense is an online pharmacy simulation. It's what we would call, it has low engineered fidelity, which means that it doesn't simulate a 3D world. It's not like a game that you can move around in a 3D sense and explore to that degree. That is a deliberate design decision, but it does have what we call a high degree of psychological fidelity, which means that it simulates the experience of working as a pharmacist in a dispensary without being like a game, without being like a 3D environment. So we spent a great deal of time thinking about making it as psychologically real as possible, whilst also maintaining some low barriers to implementation, so that it's as accessible as possible. We deliberately designed it to be an environment in which students can safely make mistakes, so that without the consequences of those mistakes in the real world. We very much want MyDispense to be a tool that students use to build confidence, to build the confidence that will take them into, say, placements and internships where they can have some degree of experience and operate with more confidence than they would had they not used the simulation. MyDispense has been around since around about 2011. The idea began in 2010 when I first joined Monash University, and at that time we had a physical pharmacy, a model pharmacy, which is obviously a highly authentic environment in which students can practice their skills. But if you've got a single model pharmacy and say a cohort of 200 students, then that creates a bottleneck and you don't get that authentic experience for all of your students all of the time. And with an online pharmacy and simulated pharmacy, our thinking was that students could access that at any time and at any place. So anywhere they have an internet connection, they could access MyDispense and practice those dispensing skills. And that's very much where it came from in its inception. It was about dispensing skills, but it has evolved into much more than that over the last few years. We wanted MyDispense to be a customizable environment, so that it was relevant. Obviously, we operate within Australia, but we thought that if we could build a tool that was customizable, then we could deliver that into different regions where pharmacy practice is slightly different, where things like prescriptions and medical products are different. So we wanted it to be customizable so that it had relevance, not just in Australia. We didn't want it to be an environment that was locked, and so that the content was locked in and could only be created by developers. We very much wanted it to be an authoring environment that enabled pharmacy instructors to be able to create their own content, their own cases, and we built a very sophisticated authoring environment behind MyDispense that allows that to happen. And finally, though we started very much in community pharmacy, and much of the development of MyDispense has been in the community pharmacy environment, we're now moving into inpatient pharmacy and supporting much more of the role of the hospital pharmacist. And that's something that we're very excited about to take into the next couple of years of development with MyDispense. A quick sort of history of the software. As I said, version 1 was released in February 2011, and we've since been iterating the software and major version updates. There have been a number of point-based updates between those major versions, and but those are the major version releases that kind of unlock big steps in functionality in MyDispense. So version release 1 version 6 was released in 2018. Version 7 is due for release this year, and version 7 is very much the version that unlocks those inpatient and hospital pharmacy functionalities. So a quick description of MyDispense and what it does. This is no substitute for really seeing the software in action, but it might help you to understand what we do with MyDispense. So this is a typical screenshot of the community version of MyDispense, where your patient comes along to your community pharmacy, and you can see there that the tools that you have available to you, the patient is something that you can click on in order to carry out patient-centered functionality. I say communication, but I'll come to communication later in this presentation. A limited amount of communication with the patient. There's also a prescription there. There are some books, which is a link to reference sources, so online references. You have a computer with your dispensing system on it, and then you have access to a telephone should you need to contact the prescriber or the provider of that medication. We have a back room where students can access the medications that they will be dispensing. So we have shelves and a refrigerator and a safe for controlled medicines. And we also have a controlled medications register, drug addiction register. And in some parts of the world, there's a requirement that a physical book be actually entered into when controlled drugs are dispensed to patients. So that's the back room. We also have an area that our students can access over-the-counter medications or self-care medications. So in MyDispense, we have 3 principal exercise types. We have dispensing exercises where students dispense medicines that are prescribed. We also have support for over-the-counter exercises where students will advise patients on the most appropriate over-the-counter or self-care medication for them. And this screen is the OTCs, one of the OTC screens that allows students to do that. We also have an exercise type that we call a validation exercise. And in that kind of exercise, students are playing the role of a senior pharmacist, checking the work of a more junior member of staff or a colleague. And in a validation exercise, they will be required to look at the prescription and also the medication that has been selected from the shelves and the label that's been produced, and any counseling points that that person intends to make to the patient. And then that student can verify that all of that information and say whether or not it's safe and legal. And we find that's quite a powerful tool. And all of those exercise types can be mixed together in what we call a scenario, which allows you to deliver all of those exercise types within a time-based framework, so that a student might have an hour to maybe do 5 dispensing exercises, 2 or 3 validation exercises, and maybe 3 self-care exercises within that time limit. And they can also be subjected to interruptions, so the telephone can ring or someone can call in with a question. So that then it becomes about time and task management as well as clinical skills. This is a view of the simulated dispensing software that we have in MyDispense. This is very much for community pharmacy, so it replicates the most common functionality of a dispensing software system that would be used in community pharmacy, particularly in Australia. And again, we can customize that for different regions around the world. This is the medications inventory. So when you go into the back room and then click on the shelves, these are all of the medicines that can be selected from the shelves. And we have, in the Australian version, over 1,000 medications that students can select from shelves. And there are obviously a lot of equivalent products in there as well. So choosing the correct medication as prescribed is very important, and that's an important feature of MyDispense, that we replicate that as accurately as we possibly can. So I mentioned earlier that MyDispense is customizable. So if we partner with another university, for example, in another part of the world, to customize MyDispense, there are many things that we can do to make it fit practice in that region. We can change the dispensing software. We can replace the medication product inventory with one that is something that is appropriate to the region. So, for example, we photographed many medications for the USA version, for example, so that if you use the USA version of MyDispense, all of the medications in there will be familiar to pharmacists in the USA. And we do that pretty much every time we do a country or a regional customization of MyDispense. We can do language versions as well. So we have translated MyDispense into German and into Swedish in the past. And that's something that is certainly possible. And the only thing that remains in English, if you do a language translation, the only thing that remains in English is the administration interface, because there's so much of that that it would be very difficult to translate that into another language. So there you can see that we can have different medications in different regions. So we have almost 2,000 medications in the USA region that are USA specific, over 700 in the UK, almost 400 in Ireland. Not so many in Germany, but many more over-the-counter medications. And we've built the system so that our partner institutions, so the staff who are using MyDispense in the partner institution, they can always add their own medications and their own prescribers and their own patients. So it's a very open system in that respect. And you can see there on the right-hand side of the screen, that is a Swedish prescription that we created for our Swedish version. And that has language translation, so all of that is in Swedish. It does present us with some challenges as being speakers only of English, that when we're trying to support foreign language versions, we sometimes need to have help in translating what is on the screen so that we can problem solve. But so far, we're doing pretty well with that. And so at the moment, we have regional versions of MyDispense. Obviously, we have the Australian version of MyDispense, but we have versions that support practice in the United Kingdom, in America, Hong Kong, Turkey, which is also a translated version, Sweden and Germany and Malaysia. We are still working on the Malaysian version, and we're happy to partner with other institutions to create other regional versions. So we're more than happy to work with you to create a version that is more appropriate for your region. This just shows you I guess a map of MyDispense usage around the world, and every year that map grows bigger, and but the team that supports MyDispense doesn't. So we continue to strive to support all of our users around the world, despite having a limited resource to do so. Our latest version, as I said earlier, is all about inpatient and hospital pharmacy. And to support that, we spent a lot of time developing an electronic health record system that sits inside MyDispense. So if you're familiar with simulations of EHR systems like EHR Go, for example, we've created a little version of that kind of thing within MyDispense to support hospital pharmacy activities. And that's an ongoing project. And we're very excited about that. And we think that unlocks a lot of potential for pharmacy education, particularly in the hospital and clinical sectors. I just wanted to talk a little while about the principles that guide us within our software development for MyDispense, because it informs decisions that we make into the future and how we develop our software and the direction that we take in future developments. So these are in 3 different categories, I guess. And our overriding principles that cover everything we do. The first of which is that MyDispense will always be provided for free to the pharmacy education community. So if you're in the business of pharmacy education, we will provide MyDispense to you free of charge. And at the moment, we will also host MyDispense for you, so that the only cost that you would have in terms of implementing MyDispense would be the time and staffing costs within your own institution to implement MyDispense. The cost of the software and the cost of hosting will be covered by Monash University, and we hope that the software will always be free of charge, and we hope that we'll always be able to host it for you as well. In that, I guess our philosophy of sharing, we also encourage sharing between our partner institutions. So we very, very much like to encourage shared practice and resource sharing particularly. We have built features in MyDispense that allow you to export content and then import it into another instance of MyDispense. So even if you're operating across 2 different countries, so for example, if you're creating dispensing exercises in Germany, you should be able to export those exercises and then import them into, say, a MyDispense instance in the USA or in the UK or in Australia. And where there are differences in, say, prescription or medication type, then the system that we have built will allow you to select appropriate alternatives, so that if you've got a good case, a good exercise, then you should be able to reuse that anywhere in the world. And we strongly encourage that shared practice. Communities of practice naturally develop from that shared practice. And that is certainly happening, particularly in the UK and in the USA. We've got some great user communities starting to happen there. Quite a number of papers have been written actually on MyDispense and simulation in pharmacy education, and we certainly would foster scholarship to that extent. The development of MyDispense is very much community-led. As an employee of Monash University, my first customer is Monash University, but obviously I have very intimate links there. Everything else that is developed in MyDispense is led by our broader global community. And we have a symposium every 2 years. COVID has kind of prevented us from doing that every 2 years, but we have our first one, our first post-COVID symposium is in July this year, and we very much look forward to seeing a lot of our MyDispense friends there. We hold it in Italy, and it's a very, very vibrant symposium, and I would strongly recommend that people would attend that. Maybe our next one will be in 2 years' time. after this year. And it's a wonderful event, and it's a great melting pot for ideas. And a lot of our development direction comes out of that symposium. Now, I think one of our core principles is that we don't chase technologies for the sake of technology. So we very, very much want to build a platform that is as accessible and as usable as possible. But then again, we don't want to ignore advances in technology. So our principle is that we'll adopt new technologies if they are beneficial to the project. As I mentioned earlier, MyDispense has low engineered fidelity, so it's not a very fancy gamified 3D environment. We did look at doing that kind of thing, and indeed we have had projects in Monash in the past that have used highly accurate three-dimensional environments. We produced a learning module around sterile compounding that because the environment itself was an important learning point, learning about the environment was important. We built that in a 3D environment, and that worked very well. But for MyDispense, we decided that we didn't need that high degree of, say, three-dimensional engineered fidelity, but we do need it to replicate the thought processes that pharmacists undertake when they're making a decision to dispense a medication safely. So what they're thinking and the elements that they're required to make decisions, we very much need to include in MyDispense. So it has high psychological fidelity, but it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles of a very sophisticated three-dimensional learning environment. It's very important to us that MyDispense be accessible 24/7 to anyone with an internet connection. And for that reason, we have as few technical barriers to uptake as possible. So for example, we could have made a lot of MyDispense, a lot of the coding of MyDispense could have been easier if we built a client that students download and then make a connection to a server. But we don't want to put that barrier in place. We don't want to have students download plugins or clients that can become out of date, and then we can get maybe security issues with them. So MyDispense is very much a very straightforward web-based application without the need for extra software. And finally, our education principles are that, I won't go through all of these, but essentially we want it to be flexible. We want it to be based on sound pedagogical principles. It's very much in the realm of experiential learning. We want it to support current professional practice. So we have to be agile enough to change things when practice changes. We want to provide an environment where students can make mistakes safely. And the exercises that students undertake in MyDispense, if they get something wrong, or if they think they can do it a little bit better, then they can retry that exercise as many times as they like, and the feedback will adapt as they undertake different subsequent goes at an exercise, for example. We wanted to be able to challenge learners from the most novice to the most expert, and I think we've built a platform that allows us to do that. And the platform also allows learners to continue to retry. And it's an interesting statistic that a lot of our students, even when they get an exercise right the first time, if the feedback tells them that they could have got it a bit more right, or they often undertake exercises more than once. And that's really an interesting thing to explore. I think students don't just do an exercise, tick a box and say, yes, I got that right. They often will reflect on their feedback and then do that exercise again in order to learn how they could have done it better. And I'm very interested in why that is so. Okay, finally, we want MyDispense to be a place where instructors can make their own content. It's also essentially MyDispense exercises are formative in nature, but we do have an examination component where students can be given a mark, so it can be used for summative assessment. We very much provide immediate feedback on students' performance, so they don't have to wait for feedback. They complete an exercise and they get feedback immediately. And as I said earlier, we're very much about allowing content to be shared between institutions. So that's very much the MyDispense story and what MyDispense is all about and our guiding principles. And we saw a growth in MyDispense from 2011 when we started using it only in Monash University to a growth, a fairly organic growth over time, where we saw sharing MyDispense with different regions of the world began to happen. And we would go to conferences and talk about MyDispense, and people would say, how do we get access to it? And we eventually partnered with a couple of universities in the United States, and that unlocked a whole new world for us, because we created a USA version of MyDispense, and then subsequently our partner institutions, they would go to conferences and talk about MyDispense, and then we saw a growth in the usage of the software, which was fairly sort of steady, I guess. And then in 2020, COVID happened, and then we just saw an enormous growth in partner institutions because obviously of the significant drive towards much more online learning, much greater difficulty for students to attend campus. And so we saw this huge growth in MyDispense from March 2020, where we went from 79 institutions that we were sharing MyDispense with to something that is currently 207 or 208 partner institutions. And that was an incredible time for us. We were so busy creating new instances and onboarding new partner institutions. But we felt very gratified that we could help, I guess, keep pharmacy education going during the pandemic. And now that things are settling down a little bit, one of the things we want to do is to go back and to review which of those institutions that took up MyDispense during the pandemic are still using it, and whether they still get value out of it. We certainly, we can see those institutions that haven't used it, and that there aren't very many. So it's gratifying to see that a lot of that uptake has led to continual use of the software post-pandemic. Just to put some numbers onto that, so from 2011 to around about mid-2018, 500,000 activities were completed in MyDispense. So an activity is when a student completes an exercise. So you could say 500,000 exercises were completed up until 2018 by students around the world. And then we hit the 1 million activity mark in late 2020. And now we're in 2022 and we've got almost 1.5 million activities completed. So you can see that there was quite a steep growth in the pandemic time, but obviously the more partner institutions we have, the more students we have accessing MyDispense, the more they're doing exercises. So it's only growing at the moment. Now, the challenges that particularly COVID-19 and that huge growth in use have presented us is that it's challenged us with a huge amount of work. So the MyDispense team has not got any bigger really since 2011. It's a tiny team. There's myself and a full-time developer, and then we contract some people in during busy times, and we have a user interface expert that helps us out quite a lot. So it's kind of a 2.5 person team most of the time. And so that growth leads to decisions that we have to make about how much of our time and resource we spend developing the software, and how much of that time and resource is spent supporting new users of MyDispense and existing users of MyDispense. So we constantly face that that balance of, we always want to keep it relevant, we always want to improve the software, but we spend an increasing amount of time supporting new users and existing users, and that's sometimes a tricky equation to balance. Every software system faces what is called technical debt, which means that the system that you used to originally author the software ages over time. And the framework that we use for MyDispense is called Cake PHP. And we need to take stock probably later this year and probably rewrite MyDispense in a more up-to-date framework. So one of the challenges we face is suspending the feature development of MyDispense and doing work that is behind the scenes that probably end users will never see, but that will make MyDispense more relevant into the future and secure it against threats going into the future, for example, because as software frameworks age, they tend to become more exposed to the threats that are endemic on the internet. So keeping MyDispense, the technical core up to date, is a challenge that we have to face. The more people that come on board, the more institutions that come on board, they present us with requests for regional customization, and we're always happy to do that, but that again adds pressure to the equation of development work versus support work. We are much more able to support regional customizations if they come in the form of, say, a partnership. So recently we worked with all 5 schools of pharmacy in Sweden to create the Swedish version. And because they were working together collaboratively, it made that task so much more achievable. And some of the time-consuming tasks, like acquiring images of medications, for example, were much easier because we had a consortium of universities doing that work. And I would strongly recommend, if anyone wanted to request a regional customization, that you find some partners to do that with. And finally, the challenge we face continually is keeping MyDispense relevant. So practice changes over time, and we need to reflect that and not fall behind, and not be providing a simulation platform that is no longer relevant to current practice. And finally, just a glimpse at where we're going with our online learning at Monash. This bit is very much about MyDispense. There are elements in MyDispense that we can improve, we think. When we created MyDispense, we deliberately did not try to create a tool that teaches communication skills for pharmacy students, and communication is a crucial part of the role of the pharmacist. The software or the technologies available to us at the time made it impossible to make an online communication tool for pharmacists. So MyDispense is very much about providing the information that a student pharmacist needs to make decisions to dispense safely. Now, we think that we can improve communication in the future. So at the moment, we have what we call fact finding, which is a very sort of quite a blunt approach to providing the information that students need from the patient. And we think we can improve that in time. Another thing that we think we can improve is in the assessment component, marking students' assessment submissions can be quite time consuming. And the system itself can mark a lot of the exam automatically. So things that we can match directly, things like, did they get the right patient? Did they get the right medication? Did they select the right medication on the shelf? That kind of thing, we can match automatically, and the computer can do that. But some things like counseling points, they at the moment, they take a human to assess whether the student made an appropriate submission. So we think maybe we can improve that in time. And the technologies that potentially could unlock that are artificial intelligence and machine learning. And we're just beginning to explore that area. And I think probably the most likely candidate would be, for the first application of machine learning, could be assessment. I think we might be able to train elements of MyDispense to mark the short answer components of creating a label and counseling a patient. I think communication is a more difficult one to crack, because each patient within MyDispense would be their own entity and with their own, I guess, their own background. And we would probably need to create some kind of bulk or entity for each patient, and that's quite a significant task. But we are going to explore that in the next few months or the next year or so. And I'm hoping that we can incorporate some of these technologies into newer versions of the software. This is essentially what I think is leading us in the mid to near future. I think we've got to get the balance right between what is available in terms of the technology, but it must always be led by pharmacy practice. So what's going on in the real world of pharmacy practice must lead us, and pharmacy practice tends to lead the curriculum. The things that we see coming on the horizon are things like pharmacist prescribing and pharmacists administering vaccination. How we tackle continuing professional development in the pharmacy world, and whether micro-credentials becomes a thing in the pharmacy profession, and if so, can we adapt our software to support micro-credentialing, for example. And then in the sphere of education practice, we need to constantly horizon scan to make sure that we're aware of current education practice. Essentially, MyDispense is a tool, so it's not too difficult to fit into different modes of education practice, but we always need to keep an eye on what's going on. And then obviously in the world of the technologies, we need to continually assess how we can make our software better with new technology. And finally, just to let you know that MyDispense is one of a suite of projects that we are currently undertaking at Monash. Other projects are smaller. MyDispense is by far the biggest of our projects, but we do have some smaller things. We've created a virtual privilege walk, which is an interesting project, which allows students to undertake, I don't know if you're aware of what a privilege walk is, but it's about, it tends to make students reflect on where they come into for example, higher education, and not everyone has the same starting point. And some people have a very different background to yourself, and so it encourages reflection and empathy. We also have a project that we currently call the Empathy Project, but is kind of about seeing things through the eyes of the patient. So this is an interactive video project where the student interacts with a patient, and it's a kind of, they choose their path through a series of videos. And at the end of that, we give them feedback on their performance in terms of their recommendations, but we also replay the whole interaction through the eyes of the patient. So we turn the camera around, and it's at that point where the student realizes that the patient in the first instance, the first project that we're doing, has a sight and hearing impairment. And that becomes very obvious when you see it through the eyes of the patient. And yet that really makes students think about how they communicate with patients and not to take things for granted. We have a new project just coming online that is a tool to help us build OSCE cases. That's very much in its early days, and we hope to be able to make the very laborious process of writing OSCE cases much more streamlined with that tool. And then finally, we have a tool called Comet, which is a curriculum planning and management tool that also incorporates an online, what's the word I'm looking for? Support for students, portfolio activities, and evidence of learning, and all of those things wrapped up into one platform called Comet. Sorry, I forgot what one of those elements was. And that's it. That's my presentation. That's where we are with MyDispense at the moment. And I will stop sharing my screen, and we'll be happy to take questions.
Okay, thanks very much indeed for the excellent presentation from Kisual about the MyDispense, the learning simulation. Ya, untuk Prof. Ari.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so now we will move to the next agenda, the discussion section. So it's a panel discussion. So the participant can ask the question using the chat box or raise hand to ask in person virtually to the speakers. Okay, the first person, Miss Sumarheni from Pharmacy Unhas. So please turn on the mic. Okay, so sorry, I will.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much, Pak Deli Ramadan, sudah diberikan kesempatan, and Professor Kit Tewel. I'm sorry if I not saying it
No,
properly.
that's fine. It's right. Thank you.
Okay, Professor Kit, I'm one of lecturer in pharmacy Hasanuddin University who teach about communication and counseling for the patient. And once I saw communication practice in one of leadership training, they use software like what you previously talked about MyDispense, and I really like to know more about this because this is the first time I saw MyDispense. Sorry for my lack of knowledge about this, and I thought it should be really good practice for students, for pharmacy students, and also for professional development. And one thing I like to ask about is the software. Is it also available to alumni? I mean, for the pharmacists, is it not only for the students or is it also affordable for the pharmacists? Because in Indonesia, we have like assessment, routine assessment for pharmacy who conduct the professional practice, and we need to recertificate our our pharmacy professional certificate every 5 years, and it should be wonderful practice if we, after the alumni cannot going to educational university, they can still able to practice like this, like MyDispense software. Thank you. Or it's only
that's a really good question. And I guess I have a question. Is there a central agency that administers the continuing professional development of pharmacists that could act as a host for that? Because all we really need is we need an institution that will provide the content that we can work with. So we need to be able to host MyDispense for that institution. And if we've got someone that is able to administer the access and to provide the cases, then we can work with you to provide MyDispense for that purpose. So we would love to provide MyDispense for CPD, but we need to work with an organization to do that. And if that's possible, then we would love to do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Kim.
Okay, thank you.
Makasih Pak Deli.
Sama.
Berikutnya ya, kalau UI memulai kerjasamanya, tolong diinfo-infokan ke Unhar. Ini kan kalau katanya baru Malaysia ya.
Mungkin Prof bisa menambahkan?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe we can start collaboration with Monash, maybe for technical, or maybe it's important also to localize language, as in the previous slide you said it's a very tough work. Yeah, so to localize, maybe the content is already there, but the language barrier also happen in Indonesia. But I think with the first time we can localize band, and in the future we can also contribute the content, accumulate in the system, maybe some university or another together, making the content become more rich. Yeah, thank you. I hope there is a good response from Monash and Keith. Yeah, thank you.
It's a very good point, actually, because customization work doesn't have to be all done at once. So we could do it in stages, in steps. So probably the first thing to tackle would be pharmacy practice. How does it differ between what we have and what you have and where you want to be? And then the next would be probably the pharmaceutical products, to make it more real and more appropriate. And we could be working on the language in the background while all of that is going on. So it doesn't have to be all done at once. It can be done in steps.
Yeah, the pharmaceutical product distributed in one country different to other. Yeah, so we have to maybe localize it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Yeah, the pharmaceutical product would also specialize in one country. So maybe making some adapting with this product is also important, making more realized. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much for the question and also the answers for the speakers. So yeah, regarding the use of this application in Indonesia, I agree that the language is one of the barriers to understand and use. So maybe in the future, there is a collaboration in Indonesia with the Monash University about this. And the second question from the chat box from Miss Permana Julian, Miss or Mr. Permana Julian, I'm sorry, because I don't know. Is MyDispense open source? Is there any collaboration that can do with lecturers or researchers in Indonesia, especially regarding local content in our country? So the previous question from Ms. Sumarhani was about the language itself, but now it's about the local content in Indonesia. So maybe the first speaker is Keith Sewell to answer this.
Okay, so open source to me means software open source. Is the software itself open to be customized by anyone? And the answer to that is no, it's not. We continually debate at Monash the best strategy for keeping MyDispense relevant and overcoming some of the resource issues that I described earlier, that we were a very small team and we don't want to disappoint anyone. And we've often discussed whether to make the software itself open source so that someone could take it and adapt it. And we've decided against that for a number of reasons. One is that the software itself is not designed to be open source. It's not architected to be open source. So therefore, we would have to rewrite the software in order to make it applicable as an open source product, which would take time. We think that open source is a really good approach if you have a very large user base. So for example, the Moodle project, which is a learning management system, is an open source project, but every educational institution in the world could have a stake in that. Everyone can use a learning management system, whereas a pharmacy, a dispensing simulation has a much smaller constituency, and therefore much less likely to have partners or institutions or schools with the resources to be able to develop the software themselves. So we think it's a very small opportunity if we made the software open source, but we are very open to collaboration. So if a partner, for example, came to us and said, can we work with you to make the software better? And we have software developers, we'd be very happy to work with you in collaboration. But we would, at Monash, we would have the control over the ultimate branch of the software that would be the core of MyDispense. Sorry, that seemed like a very long answer to the question. Apologies.
No problem at all. Thanks very much for the answer. Yeah, we are happy to hear that. Yeah, we have another participant who raised hand to Apotheker Elisa. Could you please turn on the mic and ask the question in person? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear my voice?
Yes. Well,
Okay. I have a simple question. I just curious. In Australia, especially in Monash University, still doing the online learning uh, or doing the offline learning too now. Okay, thank you for the time.
okay. Thank you, Apotheker Elisa. So, yeah, if I may repeat the question, so currently, is there any offline learning in Australia or still doing the online learning using like the software or something?
I can't really give you a definitive answer because my responsibilities are very much around what we do with MyDispense and with our learning technology projects. So I can tell you that pre-COVID, we were very much early adopters of what Professor Ari outlined earlier as part of his presentation as a flipped classroom model. And we are very much proponents of that educational approach. So we spent an awful long time changing our curriculum and completely overhauling our pharmacy degree course. And we're doing the same with our pharmaceutical sciences course. That work should have been done by now, I think, to make it much more of a flipped classroom model. So a lot of our content is online, and we have different phases of learning. And so for a particular subject, there'll be a discovery phase where students will be exposed to content online. It could be video, it could be reading material, it could be material that they're directed to. They're expected to engage with that material, that content. Then the next phase, in the next phase, they're very much in a kind of workshop phase where they have some directed learning around that. And then that is followed up with more interactive and, for example, problem-based learning approaches and things like that. And then that cycle iterates for each subject. So it's very much, we don't really do lectures anymore. We feel that the contact time between instructors and students is much better spent in a more interactive way. And content is content. But if students have issues with the content with regards to understanding, then the workshop phase usually overcomes that, and the learning gets deeper as you go through the iterations.
Okay.
Sorry, that was before COVID. We went through COVID, and then a lot of that transitioned to online, and we became very quickly experts in the use of Zoom for some of those more interactive elements. And now our students are returning to campus. We've had a few false starts with some resurgence of the virus now and again, and the rules that changed, allowing us to have face-to-face meeting. But now I think we're pretty much back to our normal mode of operation.
Okay, thank you for the answers. How about the Apotheker Elisa? So the question has been answered.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is from Kartika Chitra. Miss Kartika Chitra, could you please turn on your mic to ask in person?
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Hello, Kit. I was wondering what kind of course that any Monash Uni use MyDispense as learning tools, and As my understanding, MyDispense only for clinical competency. Can we use it for pharmaceutical competency maybe?
That's a good question, and I'm not a pharmacist, and I'm not a pharmacologist. So, really, the question, I mean, you could probably answer that question better than I could by trying it and seeing what you think. In terms of how we use it at Monash, way back in 2011, when we first started using it, our curriculum was different, and we had 2 first-year units of study, which were about pharmacy practice, and we spread MyDispense use through that first year in tutorials. Now, our curriculum looks quite different, and we have different units. And as MyDispense has grown more sophisticated and our knowledge of what we can do with it has matured, it's embedded pretty much throughout the curriculum of the pharmacy program. We also have a pharmaceutical science program, but I think it does have limited MyDispense usage in terms of exemplars, but really it's not what it was designed for. But we're always open to suggestions I guess, modify the software and make it appropriate for different learning contexts. But at the moment, I think that's the balance at Monash.
Okay, thank you. Here, Mr. Daly is one of our lecturer in pharmaceutical science. Maybe he can give you any advice for improving MyDispense.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to speak with you about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kartika, for the question. And yeah, maybe the last question, if is there any participant who want to ask in person to the speakers? You may raise hand. No? Okay, maybe the last question is from me to Prof. Aryanuar, especially for the Faculty of Pharmacy. So, is there any preparation for the new semester or term for the Faculty of Pharmacy to do the online learning or maybe the hybrid learning method with the offline method?
Yeah, thank you, Adeli. Yeah, according to the policy of university, yeah, the hybrid method is become more acceptable for us. So we still use the hybrid method using online learning, but the classical or face-to-face class is also endorsed, yeah, for lecture with high skill for communication, and also laboratory skill on, and also communication and social skill. But for many material for increasing knowledge on the art skill, so maybe the flipped classrooms become more acceptable. Yeah. So before they come to the class, they have to learn by themselves. But the limitation still exists for the class, so we cannot back to the situation 2 years ago. Yeah. So we have to change to the new normal. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for the answer. Yes, indeed, because now is the normal, the new normal, so we cannot go back to the thing that we used to do. So yeah, the challenge is still a challenge. So we can do many things to improve the pharmaceutical education in this global. So with that, we come to the end of this webinar. Again, I'd like to thank to our honorable guests and speakers for sharing their time to join us today. And I would especially like to thank Prof. Aryanuar and Kisuel for their insightful presentations and talks. I also thank to the committee for initiating this webinar, and many thanks also goes to participants for the enthusiastically participating in this webinar and asked interesting questions. And many thanks to our sponsors, PT Guardian Pharmatama and PharmaClick Group, who have supported this webinar. Again, participants who fully attend the webinar and pass the post-test will get the certificate with EAI's credit. I hope you found this webinar useful. Thank you again and have a great day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, kids.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Prof. Ari.
Thank you, Dr. Deli. Thank you all participants. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Deli, we have certificate of appreciation for our speakers.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay, okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think Kate has left this webinar.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay.
Maybe for Prof. Ari.
Okay, yeah. So please, the committee to share the token of certificate.
Thank you.
Bu Fadlina, maybe? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Ari.
Thank you. Sudah pergi.
Okay, thank you so much, committee, Fadlina.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Ari.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's all from us. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.